My daughter's husband thought it was a great idea to rob me, but he didn't expect what he would find. I knew Craig was no good the day he asked what kind of safe I had, and I hadn't even told him I owned one. But you don't think your daughter's husband would rob you. Not unless you've lived long enough to stop being surprised. You know, it's a strange kind of heartbreak when you realize your daughter's married a man who's got eyes on your grave before you're even gone. And what's worse, what really gets you is when you find out she's been helping him measure the hole. My name's Walter Granger if we're being formal, but nobody's called me that since I left the army. I'm sitting out here on my porch in Tennessee. Same place I've been sitting most evenings for the past 38 years. Same chair my wife used to bring me sweet tea in. Same view of the hills that haven't changed much, even if everything else has. I'm 68 years old. Got hands that shake a little now when I'm tired. Got a back that reminds me of every engine I ever pulled, every tire I ever changed. Spent 43 years as a mechanic, first in the army, then at my own shop downtown, until I sold it 5 years back. Not for much, just enough to know I wouldn't be a burden. That's what I thought mattered, not being a burden. Tell me something. Where are you listening to this from? I'm just sitting out back here in Tennessee, watching the sun go down behind the ridge. Been wondering lately if this kind of thing happens more than folks talk about. If there's other old men out there sitting on their porches trying to figure out how family gets this broken. Because that's what this is about. Not money, not even theft, really. It's about finding out that the people you bled for, they've been counting down your days like a calendar. Let me back up. Start where it makes sense, or at least where it started making sense to me. My wife Linda died 22 years ago. Pancreatic cancer took her in 4 months. So fast I barely had time to understand what was happening. One day she's complaining about her back hurting. Next thing I know, I'm picking out caskets. Left me with 2 kids. Shelby was 16 then, Mark was 14. I did what you do. You get up. You make breakfast. You go to work. You come home and help with homework, even when you don't understand the new math they're teaching. You sit through school plays where your daughter's a tree in the background, and you clap like she's the lead. You teach your son to change oil even though he's more interested in video games. You do it all because that's what Linda would have wanted. That's what fathers do. I missed things. I know I did. Missed birthdays working overtime. Missed Mark's baseball games because someone's transmission couldn't wait. Missed the warning signs that Shelby was hanging with the wrong crowd in her 20s. But I kept the lights on. I kept food on the table. And when Shelby said she wanted to go to nursing school, I sold my boat, the one thing I'd bought for myself after Linda died, to help with tuition. She dropped out after 2 semesters. Never did tell me why. That was 13 years ago. She met Craig about 5 years back. He was working at a car dealership. Not selling cars, mind you, but doing something with financing. Should have been my first red flag. Man who handles other people's money but drives a car with 3 different colored panels. But Shelby was 38 when they met. Never been married. I watched her light up around him in a way I hadn't seen since before her mother died. So I kept my mouth shut. You do that when you're a father. You swallow your doubts, because you want your kids to be happy. Even when your gut's telling you something's off. They got married 3 years ago. Small ceremony, I paid for it, of course. Craig's family didn't come. Said they couldn't make the drive from Florida. Another red flag I pretended not to see. The first time I noticed something was wrong. Well, it was so small I told myself I was imagining things. I'd gone to get my blood pressure pills from the bathroom cabinet, and the bottle was turned label out. Now, I'm particular about things. Always have been. Labels face in. Always. Labels face in. Always. Been doing it that way since Linda organized that cabinet in 1987. I stood there staring at that pill bottle for probably 5 minutes, trying to remember if I'd been careless, if maybe I was slipping. That's the thing they don't tell you about getting old. You start doubting yourself before you doubt anybody else. Every forgotten word, every misplaced item. You wonder if this is it, if this is the beginning of the end of your mind. I started writing things down after that. Just little notes to myself. Put wallet on dresser. Keys on hook by door. Locked front door at 9:47 p.m. Sounds crazy. I know, but I had to prove to myself that I wasn't losing it. Good thing I did. About 6 months ago, Craig starts coming around more. Used to be they'd visit maybe once a month, usually when they needed something. But suddenly he's here every weekend, wanting to help with yard work, offering to clean out the garage. Real helpful, real friendly. "Walt," he says one Saturday, spreading mulch in the flower beds Linda used to tend, You ever think about what happens to all this when you're gone? I was replacing a board on the porch steps. Stopped mid-hammer swing. What kind of question is that? He laughed. That fake laugh he does when he's trying to sound casual. Oh, just thinking about the future. Making sure everything's in order. Shelby worries about you out here alone. Shelby worries, right? That night I went through Linda's jewelry box. She didn't have much, wasn't that kind of woman, but there was a pearl necklace her mother had given her. A couple of rings, a brooch from our 25th anniversary. I know exactly how I leave them. The necklace coiled counterclockwise, the rings facing up, the brooch pinned to the velvet. The necklace was coiled the other way. Such a small thing, so small I almost convinced myself I was wrong. Maybe I'd been careless. No, I knew how I left things. Linda taught me to pay attention to details. The small things matter, Walt, she used to say. They're what tell you the big picture. I moved the jewelry that night. Put it in a safety deposit box at the bank. Didn't tell anyone. The next few weeks I started noticing more. My file cabinet in the office. The lock was scratched. Fresh scratches. The spare key to my truck, which I keep in the kitchen drawer, was on the wrong hook. The photo albums in the living room had been moved. Dust patterns don't lie. But here's what really got me. Shelby forgot Father's Day. Again, 3rd year in a row. No call, no card, nothing. But that Tuesday, she calls needing help with Craig's business taxes. Could I loan them $3,000? Just until things picked up? I gave it to them. Of course I did. She's my daughter. But I also started paying attention in a different way. See, when you're a mechanic, you learn to listen. An engine tells you what's wrong if you know how to hear it. A knock here, a whistle there. Everything means something. People are the same way. They tell you who they are if you just listen. So, I listened. I heard Shelby on the phone when she thought I was napping in my chair. He's getting older, she said. We need to think about getting power of attorney before... Before what? Before I died? Or before I noticed what they were doing? I heard Craig in my office when he was supposedly using the bathroom. Heard the desk drawers sliding open. Heard papers rustling. I heard them arguing in their car one night after dinner. Windows down, thinking I'd already gone inside. Just be patient, Shelby said. He can't last forever. He can't last forever. That's what my daughter said about me. Like I was milk about to expire. You want to know what that feels like? It feels like drowning in your own house. Like every memory on these walls is looking at you with pity. Like that photo of you holding her as a baby is asking how you got here. How you became something to wait out instead of someone to love. I started making changes the next week. Quiet ones. Went to see Tom Bradley, a lawyer downtown. Good man. Knew his father. I updated my will. Made it ironclad. Set up a trust that couldn't be touched or contested. Moved most of my savings to a different bank. One they didn't know about. And then I set up cameras. Little ones, the kind you can't see unless you're looking for them. One in the office. One in the bedroom. One facing the safe. Oh, right. The safe. It's not much to look at. Bought it 15 years ago at a estate sale. Keeps important papers. Linda's death certificate. The deed to the house. Insurance documents. Some cash for emergencies. Maybe $5,000 in bonds. Nothing worth destroying a family over. At least, that's what used to be in there. I changed that too. Took everything valuable out. Put it all in the safety deposit box with Linda's jewelry. But I left the safe right where it was. Even left the key in the same drawer where I'd always kept it. But I added something new. A voice recorder. One of those little digital ones. Set to activate when the door opened. And I waited. You know what's hard about waiting for someone you love to betray you? It's the hope. Every day they don't do it. You think maybe you were wrong. Maybe you're just a paranoid old man. Maybe the scratches on the lock were old. Maybe the moved items were your imagination. Maybe your daughter really did forget Father's Day 3 years running by accident. But then September came. It was a Thursday night. They'd come for dinner. Shelby made her mother's pot roast, which should have been nice, but somehow felt like she was practicing for when I was gone. Craig kept talking about investment opportunities. How my money could be working harder. I just nodded. Pushed food around my plate. About 9 o'clock. I said I was tired. It's not hard to fake being old and tired when you're already old and tired. I went to my recliner in the living room, turned on the TV low, and made a show of falling asleep. I've gotten good at fake sleeping. Keep your breathing steady. Let your mouth fall open just a little. Twitch occasionally like you're dreaming. Don't respond to small noises. I heard them cleaning up the kitchen. Heard them whispering. Heard Shelby say, "He's out." Heard Craig say, "You sure? He took his pills. He'll be out until morning." My pills, my blood pressure pills, that she'd been so concerned about me taking, the ones she'd reminded me about 3 times during dinner. I hadn't taken them, palmed them instead, flushed them later. Through my cracked eyelids I watched Craig walk past me, toward the hallway, watched him look back to make sure I was asleep, watched him disappear into my bedroom. The drawer opened. My ears, old as they are, caught every sound, the key ring jingling, his footsteps moving to the closet, the safe door opening with that little squeak I'd never gotten around to oiling. And then silence. Long silence. Then I heard him say, "What the hell?" Footsteps coming back fast. Shelby meeting him in the hallway. Urgent whispers I couldn't quite make out. Then Shelby's voice, clearer, angrier. "There has to be more. Check again." I did check. "It's just papers and this thing. It's recording." More silence. The kind that fills a house like water. Then they were in the living room, standing over me. I kept my breathing steady, kept my eyes closed, felt them staring at me. "Should we wake him up?" Craig asked. "And say what? That we were robbing him and want to know where the money is? He knows. He doesn't know anything. He's old. He's confused half the time. Old confused." There it was again. They left about 20 minutes later. Didn't say goodbye, just left. The safe was still open, the recorder still running, everything exactly as they'd left it. I sat up then, went to the safe, picked up the recorder, and played it back. Every word, every sound, clear as day. But you know what was clear? What I heard Shelby say when she thought they were far enough from the house. "Just get what you can. He's gonna leave most of it to Mark anyway." Mark, my son, who hadn't asked me for a dime in 10 years, who called every Sunday just to talk, who never once looked at me like I was in the way. I sat on my bed holding that recorder, and I cried, first time since Linda's funeral. Not loud crying, just tears running down my face onto my hands. Because I finally understood something. I hadn't lost my daughter that night. I'd lost her years ago. Maybe when her mother died? Maybe when she dropped out of school? Maybe when she decided that love was about what you could get, not what you could give. Or maybe I never really had her at all. Maybe I just had this idea of her that I kept propping up, kept making excuses for. Maybe every forgotten birthday, every ignored holiday, every time she only called when she needed something. Maybe those were all her telling me who she really was. And I just didn't want to listen. The next morning, I called Tom Bradley, played him the recording. He listened, didn't say much. Then he asked, "What do you want to do, Walt?" What did I want to do? I wanted my daughter back. The one who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during long car rides. The one who made me a Father's Day card in 3rd grade that said my daddy can fix anything. The one who cried in my arms the night before her mother's funeral. But that girl was gone. Maybe she never existed outside my need for her to exist. "I want to protect what I have left," I told Tom. It took 2 weeks to get everything arranged. New will. Everything in trust. Shelby gets $1,000. That's it. Enough to know she wasn't forgotten. Not enough to make it worth fighting for. The rest goes to Mark and his kids. The house, the land, the savings, all of it. Tom advised me to get a restraining order. Full charges for attempted theft. I couldn't do it. Maybe that makes me weak. But she's still my daughter, even if I'm not really her father anymore. I did call her, though. One last time. "Shelby, I know what you and Craig did." Silence. "Then I don't know what you're talking about." "The safe. The recorder. I have it all." More silence. I could hear her breathing. "Dad, you're confused. You're getting paranoid. Maybe we should talk about getting you some help." There it was. The gaslight. The attempt to make me doubt myself again. I changed my will. "Shelby, you should know that." "You did what?" "Dad, this is crazy. We're your family. We're trying to help you." "No, you're trying to rob me. And when that didn't work, you're trying to make me think I'm senile. We needed that money more than you do." Her voice changed then. Got harder. Meaner. The mask finally off. "You're sitting on all that wealth while we're struggling. It's not fair." Wealth. My 3-bedroom house that needs a new roof. My 15-year-old truck. My pension that barely covers groceries and utilities. That's wealth to her. I worked for everything I have. So what? You want a medal? You did what you were supposed to do, and now you're being selfish with it. Selfish? I repeated the word, tasted it. I paid for your school that you quit. I paid for your wedding. I've given you money every time you've asked. How is that selfish? You taught me to survive, Dad. Don't blame me for using what you taught. And then she hung up. That was 6 weeks ago. Haven't heard from her since. Well, that's not entirely true. She sent one text, "I hope you're happy. We needed that money more than you do. You taught me to survive. Don't blame me for using what you taught." Same words, like she'd rehearsed them. Craig tried calling once, left a voicemail about how this was all a misunderstanding, how I was tearing the family apart, how Shelby was devastated. I deleted it. But here's the thing about cutting someone out of your life. It's not clean. It's not like surgery where you remove the bad part and heal. It's more like an amputation. The part's gone, but you still feel it, still reach for it, still expect it to be there when you turn around. I'll see something at the store, those cookies she used to like, the kind with the lemon filling, and I'll reach for them before I remember. I'll hear a car pull up and think, maybe she's come to apologize, to make things right. But it's just someone turning around in my driveway. Mark knows something happened. He's too polite to push, but he knows. Started coming by more often. Brings his kids, my grandkids. I actually get to see. We don't talk about Shelby. We talk about his work, about the kids' school, about the weather. Safe things. He helped me fix the porch rail last weekend. Didn't ask why I was replacing the locks on all the doors. "Dad," he said while we were working, "you doing okay?" "I'm fine, son." "You sure? You seem—" "I don't know. Tired. I am tired. Tired in ways that sleep can't fix. Tired of being disappointed. Tired of being on guard. Tired of wondering if every nice gesture has a motive behind it. Just getting old?" I told him. He nodded, went back to work. But later, when he was leaving, he hugged me. Mark's not a hugger, neither am I, but we stood there in my driveway, holding on to each other like we were afraid of what would happen when we let go. "Love you, Dad," he said. "Love you too, son." And I meant it. God, I meant it. Because when you lose one child to greed, the one who still sees you as a father instead of an ATM becomes everything. The house is quieter now. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. The kind that makes you realize how many sounds you were listening for that won't come anymore. Shelby's car in the driveway. Her voice calling from the kitchen. Even her asking for money. At least that meant she still needed me for something. I sit on this porch most evenings, looking at the same hills, drinking coffee that's gone cold because I forget about it. Sometimes I think about Linda, wonder what she'd say about all this. She always saw the best in people, always said Shelby just needed time to figure herself out. How much time, Linda? How much time do you give someone before you accept that who they are is who they're choosing to be? Last week, something happened that almost broke me all over again. The phone rang during dinner, not my cell. The landline. Nobody calls the landline anymore except telemarketers. But when the machine picked up, it wasn't a telemarketer. It was a little voice, nervous, young. "Hi, Grandpa," Mommy said not to call you, but I miss you. I wanted to know if you're still mad. I drew you a picture. It has you and Grandma and your dog Patch. I hope you're not gone. Shelby's youngest, Tyler, 9 years old, still thinks Patch is alive. That dog's been gone 5 years. Still thinks his grandpa might disappear like his grandma did. I stood there looking at that machine, my hand hovering over the button to pick up. But what would I say? How do you explain to a 9-year-old that his mother tried to rob you? That she looked at you like you were already dead? That loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you? You don't. You can't. So I let it record. Listen to him say, "I love you, Grandpa," before hanging up. Then I deleted it, but I didn't block the number. Don't know why. Maybe because hope is harder to kill than trust. Maybe because grandkids shouldn't pay for their parents' choices. Maybe because I'm just a foolish old man who can't let go completely. I think about that safe sometimes. Sitting there in my closet with nothing valuable in it anymore. Just papers and ghosts. Craig was looking for money, but what he found was the truth. That I'd already figured them out. That the confused old man wasn't so confused after all. But knowing the truth doesn't make it hurt less. If anything, it makes it worse. Because now I can't pretend. Can't make excuses. Can't tell myself that she'll come around, that she'll remember who we used to be to each other. She made her choice, and I made mine. I protected what I had left. Not just money or property, but my dignity, my right to not be treated like I'm already in the ground, my right to decide who deserves what I worked my whole life to build. But God, it's a lonely kind of victory. You know what the worst part is? It's not the betrayal. It's not even losing Shelby. It's the doubt. The wondering if I did the right thing. If I should have just let them take what they wanted, kept the peace, pretended I didn't know. Would that have been love? Or would that have been cowardice? I don't know. I'll probably never know. All I know is that I'm 68 years old, sitting on a porch my wife will never sit on again, missing a daughter who maybe never really existed, and protecting a legacy for a son who never asked for it but deserved it anyway. They say you can't take it with you. That's true, but you sure as hell can decide who gets it when you're gone, and more importantly, you can decide who doesn't deserve a damn thing. Is that bitter? Maybe, but when someone looks at you like you're just an obstacle between them and your money, bitter might be all you've got left. I think about calling her sometimes. Usually late at night when the house feels too big and the silence feels too loud. I think about picking up the phone and saying, "What? That I forgive her? I don't? That I understand? I don't? That I love her? I do. That's the hell of it. I still love her. You don't stop loving your child just because they stop deserving it. You just learn to love them from a distance. Love the memory of who they were. Love the potential they never reached. Love the daughter you lost long before she tried to rob you. But you don't let them back in. Because love without respect isn't love. It's just being used. And I've been used enough for one lifetime." Mark asked me the other day if I had any regrets. We were fishing at the lake, not catching anything, just sitting there with our lines in the water. "Too many to count," I told him. "About Shelby?" So he did know. Of course he did. "No," I said after thinking about it. "Not about what I did, just about what I couldn't prevent." He nodded, didn't push. That's Mark's way. He knows when to talk and when to just be there. Shelby never learned that, always filling silence with wants and needs and requests. "Dad," he said as we were packing up, "for what it's worth, you did the right thing." "How do you know?" "Because you're still here, still yourself, still the man who taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up." He's right, I guess. Family is about who shows up, who calls without needing something, who helps without being asked, who sees you as a person, not a resource. By that measure, I've got a son and 2 grandkids. That's not nothing, that's actually quite a lot. But it doesn't fill the hole where a daughter used to be. Nothing ever will. The sun's going down now behind the hills. Same sun that's been setting here for as long as these hills have stood. It doesn't care about my problems. Doesn't care that my daughter tried to rob me. Doesn't care that I'm sitting here alone, talking to whoever's listening, trying to make sense of something that'll never make sense. Tomorrow it'll rise again. I'll make my coffee, check my locks, look at my phone and see no messages from Shelby. And I'll go on, because that's what you do. You go on. But between you and me, some nights I sit here and wonder if this is what dying feels like. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Losing the people you love, not to death, but to their own choices. Watching them choose money over memory, opportunity over loyalty. I protected my legacy, protected my assets, protected myself. But what I couldn't protect was the relationship I thought we had. Can't put that in a safe. Can't lock that down with a lawyer. Can't record evidence of love that was never really there. So here I sit, an old man with his dignity intact and his heart broken, winner of a game I never wanted to play. Is that justice? Is that revenge? Or is that just life, showing me one more time that the things that matter most are the things you can't protect? I don't know. All I know is that drawer is still turned the wrong way sometimes when I check. Like she's still trying, still testing, still hoping I've gotten careless. I haven't, I won't. But Lord, I wish I could. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.